Hey, this is Rick with Outdoor Emergencies at hikingemergencybeacon.com. And today, as we're approaching hunting season, and it's the very end of August, it's August 27th, I want to remind all of the hunters and anybody else who's getting out in the mountains, specifically in Colorado and places like it, I want to give you a heads up of why you want to carry a satellite communicator. And this is the Garmin inReach Mini 2, but watch to the end because I have a brand new video out and it's the top 11 satellite communicators for 2023. So watch for that at the end and I'll help you decide what's the best satellite communicator for you. So the reasons you really want to have a satellite communicator, and this is just not my opinion from, things I've read or heard, but I have heard them. My daughter worked and was with the mountain rescue team, and I'll have an image on the screen, in Gunnison, and it was a search and rescue team. And she did that for about 2 years. And so she did a lot of training. It's a very intense program, and they got called out a lot of times. But they got called out a lot during hunting season. And like me, you may think nothing's ever going to happen to me. And okay, it costs some money, and some are more expensive than others, but you may think, well, I don't really need it, or I don't really have the money right now. But when you get lost or you get injured, that money is going to be a non-issue for you, I promise. But here's some of the reasons that I want to tell you about that my daughter has experienced personally on the search and rescue team in Gunnison. And what was happening, and it happens a lot, is there's a lot of local hunters, but there's a lot of hunters from outside Colorado that are from lower altitudes, elevation. And they come up here, and they may have hunted here a lot, so they may be used to the area, but some are new hunters. And so the number one reason why you want to have a satellite communicator is getting lost. And you know as well as I do, when the hunter is going after that big buck and they're following it, and maybe it's early morning, but a lot of times it's also in the evening, and all of a sudden it starts to get dark, and they may be hour, 2 hours, 3 hours away from their campsite, and all of a sudden they don't know where they're at. This happens a lot. So having a satellite communicator where you can communicate with people, and in a life-threatening situation you can call for a SOS. But before that, if you're not in a life-threatening situation, you can see the map on your device, or when it's synced and on your phone, so you're not lost anymore. All right, that is the number one reason, and that's what they got called out a lot on. The second reason, I might surprise you, but it's heart attacks. They got called out on a lot of heart attack cases. So here's something to always keep in mind. Besides having this satellite communicator, carry aspirin with you, because then you can take that and you could call it for help, SOS, and two-way message your friends, buddies, whoever's with you. But make sure you carry aspirin. Another thing that kind of goes along with heart attacks, even though they're different, is altitude sickness. I've seen this firsthand with my dad. He got altitude sickness so bad up in northern New Mexico. We were around 10,500 feet. And he got so sick, he was in his tent for 2 days and was throwing up the whole time. And we didn't realize it was altitude sickness at that point. But then I've experienced it also when I was up by myself, up hiking here in Colorado, and I was up around 12,000 feet, and I was by myself, out away from anybody. And at that point, I did not have a satellite communicator. But I've experienced it, my daughter's experienced it. So be aware, drink a lot of water. If you're from outside the state and low altitude especially, start drinking a lot of water a week ahead of time. Now that, you don't need to drink that much ahead of time, but at least 2 or 3 days ahead of time. Water will really help you. Even if you're in a high altitude area, you should be drinking a lot of water before you head out. The other thing that happens a lot is falls. So somebody might sprain an ankle, break a leg, break an arm, something like that, or even worse. So falls are a big reason to have satellite communicators. And sometimes too, you may be fairly close to the camp, and maybe somebody else has a satellite communicator on your group, and maybe you don't need to call SOS, but you just need to message somebody else in your group, and you can send them a location. They can come right to you within 20, 30 feet, and they can help you get off. Say if it's a sprained ankle, it's really bad, and you can't walk. Well, they could come up, help you down to the campsite, and then you can go get medical attention. The last two major items that happen is ATV accidents and four-wheel accidents. Now, my daughter also is studying and trained and is an EMT. And she had to take care of some injuries with ATVs, and it's not pretty. And today, when she wants to tell me about these incidents, I have to just basically plug my ears and walk off, because in one situation, I mean, the skin from this one guy's hand just came all the way off. So it was degloved, and I'm sorry, don't mean to bring it to you. You might be getting sick right now, but there's all kinds of accidents up here with ATVs and four-wheel drive. So if you've got the ability to message with these, or maybe it's a severe situation and you have been map sharing, and so family and friends can see where you're at, and all of a sudden you haven't moved in hours, well, they can see on their phone or on the computer, they can see where you're at. They can send those coordinates to the search and rescue team, or if they're close by, they can come and find you. The last thing I want to bring up, and there are other reasons to carry a satellite communicator, but it's snowstorms or thunderstorms. But I'm going to specifically talk about snowstorms because hunting, of course, starts in September, goes all the way, I think, into December into January. But what happens, and I've experienced this also myself, you come up here in September and you think, oh, it's going to be great, it's beautiful weather, and it is a great time to go hiking and camping in the mountains or hunting. But there's been some times when a foot or two of snow has dumped on us and it's been a surprise snowstorm. All of a sudden, you're in a situation where it can become life-threatening really quick, because you might be lost and in a snowstorm, or it's 2 feet of snow. You don't know where you're at. And I've had this happen where I was hiking in northern New Mexico, and all of a sudden this mountain I knew was supposed to be over here was not over here, it was over here. And I was lost. Now, we weren't in a snowstorm, but we were in about 1.5 feet of snow. It was a beautiful day. So all we did was turn around and walk out. Again, we did not have a satellite communicator at that point. That was 15, 20 years ago. But when you have these, you're not lost. And if you get caught in a snowstorm, you really should, one, be able to hit SOS and two-way message and talk and let people know where you're at. And you may have to stay put. In a snowstorm like that, especially late in the evening, a lot of times those search and rescue teams can't get to you. So you should always carry something where you can light a fire, have an emergency blanket. You know, they have the real thin emergency blankets that fold up into the size of your wallet. So it can warm your body temperature up 20 degrees or so. And if you can get to some place where you have shelter and start a fire, it may not be a comfortable night, but you can survive. So you need to be thinking about that also. Well, I think you get the point right now, and I don't need to go into any more examples. That was plenty and enough for most of us. Hey, do me a favor and like, subscribe, and share, and turn on notifications so you'll be alerted as soon as I put out new videos. All right, I told you I was going to tell you about my top 11 satellite communicators of 2023. It's a video. You're going to see a link up here in the corner, and it'll be in the description below. I also had another one, I think it was in 2022. So I'll have all of those in the description. And I go through communicator by communicator and I tell you which ones are better for certain things. I mean, what's the best overall? What's the best if you are in an ATV or four-wheel drive or an off-road vehicle? What's the best if you're hiking? What's the best if you're just camping and you don't need a map, but you want to be able to have communication and two-way message? So I break all that down, but I will tell you right now, for you hunters, there's one that would be really good because you want to travel lightweight when you're hunting, and this Garmin inReach Mini 2, it is an incredible device because it will sync with your phone. You can see tracks on the screen here. You can call for SOS by hitting this button here. But when it syncs with your phone, you can see the topo maps on your phone. You can get weather and you can message and everything from your phone. It's very convenient. It's a great device. If you want an all-in-one device, the Garmin GPS Map 67i is the one you should really focus on. All right, that's it. If you have any questions or thoughts or advice, please leave a comment below. I really like to talk with you guys. I keep learning, and that helps me to relay other information in future videos. Well, thanks again for joining me today. Please leave comments if you have any questions especially, and I'll see you back out here in the next video.